The system we have in place now to provide wildlife habitat, to provide water for your tap in your home, is not equipped to deal with the realities of a changing climate. And so if we do nothing, that system's eventually going to fail.
The 2013 floods served as a catalyst for bringing together diverse interest groups to find solutions to climate impacts like the floods. Today, we continue to face climate impacts: future flood, drought resilience, and fire. And diverse interest groups across the watershed are combating these problems and need to find solutions to benefit multiple uses.
So we think of Left Hand Creek as a working river. And a working river is one that plays a role in not only the ecology of our water system, but our economy of human systems as well. We depend on our rivers for all sorts of water uses, so we look to them for recreation opportunities, to provide crucial habitat for wildlife, and we look to our rivers to supply water to support our dense human populations that we find on the Front Range. One of the ways we deliver water to these human populations is through a network of ditches. As our ditch systems exist currently, there's a limit to how efficient they can be in the delivery of water. We can find solutions by working alongside ditch managers as stewards of our water to find creative solutions to make sure that there's water available to all water users into the future. Left Hand Creek starts in the headwaters, flows out to the plains, eventually joins the St. Vrain Creek, and after that, the broader South Platte Basin. Without a complex system of water delivery in the form of ditches, this water would only be seasonally available to us. So we've created this system of ditches that consists of diversions, which draw water away from the creek, consists of ditches that deliver water into homes, into neighborhoods, into farm fields, and consists of reservoirs which hold that water and regulate it so that it's available throughout the year.
You can see how big of a footprint sometimes ditches have in creeks like Left Hand Creek. Sometimes that dam structure creates a large vertical drop such that fish can't pass upstream, both when water's flowing and, as you can see, during dry times of year when water is all required to be diverted upstream of the dam itself. It also poses challenges for ditch operations because of all the sediment that accumulates behind the dam. During high flows, when the river is laden with sediment and tons of sediment is moving downstream, the ditch management needs to ensure that they're delivering clean water that doesn't have all that sediment. During low flow times of year, like now, we can see all that sediment that was transported during that high flow time of year, and we can see how it's impacting and encroaching in the pool. That's really the operational area of the ditch footprint to ensure that they can take water. And so what ends up happening is every fall and throughout the fall, ditch companies need to continuously come to this location and dredge out all this sediment. So I don't think it's common knowledge that fish are required to migrate throughout the year to access different habitat types. So our plains fish are swimming upstream to access the transition zone habitat. Our trout are coming downstream and then migrating back up. And especially during high flows, when we have a lot of water moving through, the transition zones become abundant with habitat and diversity of different habitat types. Local experts have said that the flood resulted in a flush of fish navigating downstream to avoid the impacts of the high flows and find refuge. And since then, those fish cannot re-access their historic habitats because of all the ditch infrastructure that they swam downstream. They can't now navigate back upstream, and will ultimately result in fish populations declining. The challenge for fish is to be able to migrate and access the transition zone habitat now and into the future. Laid on top of that is the challenge for water managers to continue providing water in that same geographic location. At the bypass channel, we will be providing reduced sediment maintenance by aligning Left Hand Creek to the bypass channel during high flows such that sediment is transported downstream rather than going to the diversion itself. And so herein lies the solution, thinking about the ditch maintenance challenges with high sediment loading at the dam, but also an opportunity for a side channel habitat that fish, especially small fish that can't handle the high, fast flows during the high flow season, to make their way upstream and just bypass the ditch and diversion structure itself.
I think no one recognizes this more than the people in charge of managing our water systems. That's why we've found such strong partnerships to work together on projects like this that do good for both wildlife habitat and water availability. As community members, people who own land in this watershed can have a huge impact. They can partner on projects like this where we can do active restoration to provide habitat, to increase water availability and efficiency of water delivery systems. Members in the community who don't happen to own waterfront property can become involved by joining with their watershed groups who are doing this work. They can volunteer, they can contribute their time and their resources, they can support policies that enable us to do this kind of work, that divert money to water issues, wildlife issues.
Through these projects, we are trying to keep the voice alive of these multi-generation ditch operations and acknowledge that there's serious and shared challenges from fish and water management.
And when folks ask how they can best become involved in this work, I always say the first step towards contributing is learning about how your watershed works. And having that understanding can help you then go out with that information and support the programs and the projects that help build resiliency into this watershed to mitigate risk from climate change impacts, fires, floods, all of these challenges we're facing together as a community. You can find out more about the work we do at watershed.center, and we hope to connect with you in this work.